I think the current state of commerce media is extremely exciting. I think we have a lot of different opportunities for brands and agencies to reach consumers, not only when they're at the core and way down into that purchase funnel through the various sort of retail media network and channels that are available out there, but also now to use a lot of those signals that they're seeing in those channels and reach consumers elsewhere throughout their day through great targeting and then also measure reaching those consumers, be able to determine whether or not reaching those consumers through those other media vehicles, those other media channels, is it effective? Is it driving conversion for my brand? So if I'm a brand or if I'm an agency, I'm extremely excited about the stuff that I can do and will be able to do faster and easier in the future.
Talk about the broader media mix, TV, digital, social. Commerce media is really starting to make its way across many different channels.
Yeah, I think two interesting points there. I mean, number one, you have, the funnel, right? And you have retail media networks the furthest down that funnel. One being obviously Instacart, where you're very, very, very close as an advertiser, as a marketer, to reaching consumers, connecting with those consumers while they're in that purchase mindset. And so I think that's the furthest down the funnel. And then you've you've got other vehicles that have been associated with conversion and return on investment in the past. One of those being search. Search has always kind of been synonymous with I'm looking for something, I'm looking to buy that trip, looking for that insurance, or I'm looking for information that will lead me to a purchase. I think what's interesting is you get further up. I think the social channels have now become very synonymous with the idea of clicking to buy. You see things in a scroll, and immediately you trust that you can click. In some instances, double tap on the side of your phone with Apple Pay, and all of a sudden, whatever it is you bought is showing up at your house, 2 or 3 days later. That's inherent in that type of social media vehicle. So I think you've seen it in the past. I think what's getting interesting now, the second point, is that you really never had the ability in linear television to know exactly who it was that you were reaching. You had an idea, you had an age, you knew what types of folks watched these types of shows, and you hope that reaching those consumers, you weren't wasting too much investment, but that the reach was effective for you. And in the same way, you really never knew who bought your products. 10 years ago, that was either held at the grocery store level, at the credit card level. So you didn't really know who was actually buying your product at the grocery store. Now, with the growth of RMNs and with the growth of streaming, you really have the ability to reach a specific consumer and then be able to actually see what they did after being exposed to your messaging. So that allows us to move further up that funnel, right? If we're talking about, RMNs and you're talking about search and you're talking about social, now all of a sudden you're getting into a different media vehicle that reaches consumers at a different point in their day, right? When I'm sitting back at night, sitting in my couch, watching my Roku, watching streaming television, now you can actually, that I've bought your product. You can reach me with an ad. And then, in a few days later, you can see if reaching me with that ad has actually led to anything. And so I think that's where that's where you're starting to see brands think more about the ability to do that, and what does that mean for my budgets and investment.
And speaking of budgets, the commerce media space is really getting crowded now. It's really picking up. So, how would you advise advertisers on what partnerships actually matter?
I think a couple things. I think you have to be able to allocate portions of your budget to experiment in some of the things that I just talked about. Again, going back to being able to reach consumers in that addressable, that large widescreen television format, we don't really know what to do with consumers once we've engaged with them. We've tried QR codes, we've tried some click to buy stuff, but there's really a lot of experimenting going on with I know that Dave DeRobbio bought laundry detergent. What do I do with him with my laundry detergent ad once that I know that I've got him watching at a certain time of the day? We don't really know yet, right? So I would encourage brands to allocate budgets towards experimentation. And then it really the second thing is measurement. So with all this comes a really uncanny knack to be able to measure every exposure. So and all of those measurement methodologies differ. And we're not right there yet where a lot of that data is being able to go into traditional MMMs, right? To be able to inform those outcomes. So I would say, really playing around with what is a brand or an agency's North Star when it comes to return on investment, when it comes to measurement. Is it exposures? Is it, brand halo impact, or is it just that specific SKU that I'm advertising? And then what vehicles give you the measurement that you're looking for. So it really has to do philosophically with again being able to experiment and make sure you're not caught flat-footed as these things quickly evolve, but then also having a tried and true North Star for what are the data points that matter because they vary from place to place. So at least I have to have three or four things that I hold tried and true that allow me to inform the efficiency of all these different types of investments that I'm making.
Instacart is pushing commerce data off platform for audience extension. What kind of impact is that having on targeting for advertisers?
I think it's having a huge impact when it comes to audience selection, and when it comes to the type of customers that they want to reach. And when I say type of customers, Instacart has a very unique data set, right? We're digital only, so there's really no brick and mortar types of signals in the audiences that we provide. We're also a marketplace of marketplaces, so we have 1,800 retailers represented within our consumer set. And so when you're reaching Instacart consumers, you essentially have 98% coverage of the US. So you have a purely digital, national, not regional signal. And then so for a brand that probably fits a very specific audience that they're trying to reach. I'm sure they have a very traditional standard audience that they focus on, and then they probably want to pay attention to shoppers like shoppers on Instacart who are kind of leading a fundamental shift in the way consumers expect things to get to their homes. I look at the way that my kids shop. I don't know if they're going to spend a lot of time in the retail environment as they grow up. I mean, their expectations are paper towels and tissue just show up in my house. And so, if I'm a brand, I need to pay attention to that consumer, and the Instacart data gives you a great way to go ahead and do that. But then obviously there are other consumer segments that I need to pay attention to. So I have to be able to go ahead and segment out my budgets to not only reach those consumers, but then measure the effectiveness of reaching those consumers.
And finally, what's the key to turning commerce data into actionable insights?
Hmm. I think it's really being able to measure, and I think to get back to what I was saying before, is to being able to measure, but then being able to really decide on what are the things that you want to be able to measure. Like the signals are available all over the place. It's still a little bit of there's still a lot of work to be done on infrastructure. I think we've got some consolidation that needs to happen in how this big flywheel turns with so many multiple partners kind of being involved. But now at least there is efficiency, and that you can get signals back in based on your investment and the audiences that you use. But again, being tried and true on what those three or four points are that are going to help drive your brand and achieve goals across all these different investment vehicles, I think is the most important thing for a brand and agency to be focused on.